me now to talk about this and much more. Senator Bob Corker, chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. Senator, thanks so much for joining us.
Jake, good to be with you. Thank you.
So let me start with the question that you probably won't answer. What conversations have you had with the Trump transition team about becoming Secretary of State or any other possible position in a Trump administration?
You're right. I probably won't answer that. But look, just generally speaking, I understand I'm in the mix. I also understand that there are people who've been very close to the campaign, have had long-term friendships that are also in the mix. So my sense is that those people probably are being looked at very closely right now, and we'll see how it turns out. But it's been an honor to be in the mix, and we'll see what happens.
Your colleague, Senator Rand Paul, said that if Mr. Trump, President-elect Trump, were to pick former UN Ambassador John Bolton for Secretary of State, that would be, in his view, a betrayal of the voters. He called Bolton a menace. Do you think that Bolton would have problems getting confirmed if he were nominated as Secretary of State?
Well, Jake, since the likely role I'm going to play in all of this is chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, and I'll be conducting the hearings and confirmations and going through the due diligence, I just don't really want to weigh in on anyone, especially until someone's actually nominated. So I hope you'll respect that. It's just not something that would even be appropriate for me to do.
Can you give us any sense of what's going on inside Trump Tower right now in terms of being prepared for this transition? So far, it appears that the transition team has let go of more people than they've brought in. How much turmoil is there? Is it extraordinary at all?
You know, I had 2 calls back just a moment ago in the office. I was talking with someone there, and I do get the sense that that the turmoil is being blown out of proportion. And I do remember that, look, it's just been 7 days, and if you think about it, the Trump effort was, I mean, he almost did it by himself. He did have some people around him, let's face it, but it was very small, and so they've had to go from last Wednesday, a week ago, giving a speech about winning the race to now being where they are in the transition. So we look back, and when President Obama's transition took place, he didn't even announce his national security team, Secretary Clinton and others, until December the 1st. So look, you would expect the beginning of this, when you're lifting off at such speed, there's going to be a lot of moving parts. I know that, you know, our office is assisting with some of they go in, they do what's called landing teams in offices, and I mean, just a lot to this, 4,000 positions. So my sense is all of us probably ought to just understand that this is how massive it is, and should chill a little bit and, you know, give them a little time to get their bearings.
Donald Trump has promised to tear up the nuclear deal with Iran. Some conservative critics point out to a rule that you helped pass in the Senate, which allowed the Iran deal to be voted on in the Senate by whether members disapproved, which meant that the president needed only 34 votes to sustain a veto instead of 67. It gets a little complicated there, but do you think, Mr. Trump, do you think President-elect Trump should ditch the Iran deal altogether?
Well, let me make sure first, you know, they went straight to the UN Security Council and had this approved at the Security Council level before we ever voted. So we had nothing to do with helping make this happen. We created a process, we're able to pass a process that actually gave us the ability to keep it from happening. We had a 90-day stay passed to keep this from happening before it came to us. So he didn't go the treaty process, which is a shame. Now, as you mentioned, President Trump coming in he can do away with it in 5 minutes if he wishes with the flick of a pen. So our process was to stop it, to give Congress a chance to weigh in and to possibly override it. I voted to disapprove the Iran deal, but getting back to it, what I've heard him say is several things. I mean, he said on some occasions, yes, I think at AIPAC, that he would tear it up. He also said in one of the debates that he would wait until he got in office to see where it is and then decide. Look, I think I think there's going to be strong bipartisan support for really pushing back against the violations that Iran is committing right now, both on the ballistic missile testing, but also on the purchase of conventional arms. And I think you're going to see Congress really joining in with him to push back and to hold their feet to the fire. So he's going to have to ascertain the best route forward. I think, unfortunately, all the leverage was given up on the front end, which was why so many of us strongly opposed this deal. So Iran has those resources they are wanting, and the way to really make this happen in an appropriate way, we've got to bring Germany and France and the UK and other countries along with us. So I know that President-elect Trump understands that. My guess is he'll be looking at the best path forward to ensure that Iran does not get a nuclear weapon.
But it sounds to me, sir, and forgive my effrontery, but it sounds to me like what you're saying is he shouldn't tear it up. He should enforce it and make sure the Iranians stick to what they agreed to and use the international community to go along with it, but he should not tear it up.
I don't think he will tear it up, and I don't think that's the way to start. I think what he should do is build consensus with these other countries that they're definitely violating the agreement, and he's going to have Congress with him on that. And I think that's a much better approach. Iran, over time, likely will hang themselves, okay? Because, again, they've already shown that they're pushing the envelope, going outside the agreement. And the other thing we should be doing is pushing back strongly against the terrorism that they're conducting in the region, the efforts they have underway in Yemen, the efforts they have underway in Syria. So there's multiple pressure points that we can push back against Iran on and with. And my guess is that President-elect Trump will pursue those and over time really make a final decision as to how he wants to deal with this issue. I don't think he's going to come in on January 20th and just rip the agreement up, which, by the way, because of the way it was done, he can easily do. I mean, it's a non-binding political commitment. If President Trump wants to step away from it the day he gets in office, he can, which is why it shouldn't have been done in the manner that it was done.
Thank you so much, Senator Corker.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator. Appreciate it.